Sparta. The name itself conjures images of iron-willed warriors standing shoulder to shoulder against overwhelming odds. We see them in movies, a brotherhood of heroes defined by their courage, discipline, and a glorious death on the battlefield. But this is a carefully constructed myth. The shining bronze armor and billowing red capes hide a truth so dark, so brutal, it eclipses any glory they might have achieved. Today, we peel back the layers of this heroic myth to expose the unimaginable cruelty that forged the Spartan warrior. This is the Sparta they don't show you in the movies. The strength of Sparta was not born of virtue, but of a deeply ingrained system of oppression and violence. At the very foundation of their society was a class of state-owned serfs, the Helots. The Helots were the original inhabitants of the lands the Spartans conquered, and they outnumbered their masters by a staggering amount, perhaps as much as 7-1. This numerical inferiority created a perpetual state of fear among the Spartan elite, a fear they managed with institutionalized terror. Every year, the highest-ranking Spartan officials would formally declare war on the Helot population. This wasn't a symbolic gesture. It was a license to kill. It was the responsibility of a secret police force, the Crypteia, to patrol the countryside and eliminate any Helot deemed a potential threat. The most promising young Spartan men were sent out into the wilderness with nothing but a dagger, tasked with hunting and murdering the strongest and most defiant Helots under the cover of darkness. This was not just warfare, it was state-sanctioned terrorism, a tool to keep an entire population subjugated through fear. The cruelty of Spartan society began at birth. When a Spartan child was born, it was inspected by a council of elders. While stories of babies being thrown into a chasm are likely an exaggeration, the reality was no less grim. These unfit infants were abandoned on a hillside, left to die from exposure. From the very beginning, a Spartan's right to life was determined by their potential usefulness to the state. For the boys who were deemed worthy, life was a relentless trial. At the age of 7, they were torn from their families and entered the agoge, a brutal state-run education and training program designed to forge them into unthinking instruments of war. They were given minimal food, forcing them to steal to survive. If caught, they were not punished for the theft itself, but for the clumsiness of being discovered. They were taught to endure extreme pain, including ritual floggings that sometimes resulted in death. The agoge was not about building character, it was about breaking the individual. It was a system of violent and abusive training that stripped boys of their humanity, leaving behind only a soldier loyal to the state. The bonds they formed were not of friendship, but of shared trauma. They were taught that compassion was a weakness and that the only acceptable emotion was a lust for battle. So, when we see the heroic Spartans on our screens, we must remember what lies beneath the surface. The discipline we admire was born of child abuse. The stability of their society was built on the backs of a terrorized slave class. And the courage that has been immortalized was the product of a system that valued the state above all else, even the lives of its own children. The brutal reality is that the Spartan warrior was not a hero, but a victim and a perpetrator in a cycle of unimaginable cruelty.